My sister-in-law tried to hijack my wedding after I refused to make her a bridesmaid.
It's your wedding now.
Hi all. Wedding planning has been exhausting for me, 24 female, and I'm close to giving up and eloping. I just can't handle all the pressure. My fiance and I have been together for 2.5 years. By the way, this comes from Oracle FX, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Riley.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. My issues with my future sister-in-law, 26 female, started just after my fiance and I got engaged last year. Future mother-in-law has remarried earlier the same year, and I also think she never expected her little brother to get married before her. She freaked out and pressured her boyfriend to propose, but he wouldn't, and they split for a while before eventually getting back together. For that period, we were not allowed to mention our engagement in front of her, or she would be very rude and passive-aggressive. There was also the issue of the ring. My fiance's family has 2 heirloom rings, one for my fiance and one for future sister-in-law. When my fiance asked his grandparents about it, they could not remember which one future sister-in-law had chosen and called her about it. She couldn't pick which one she wanted, so now both rings were off the table until she decides which one she wants. My fiance said screw that and bought me a different ring, which I love, but the whole situation was hurtful. Now my fiance and I want a very small ceremony and a large reception afterward. We also want a small wedding party. I decided I only wanted 2 bridesmaids, my sister and my best friend. My fiance will have 2 groomsmen, his best friend and my brother. Future sister-in-law is of course invited to the ceremony, but she completely lost it when she realized she wouldn't be a bridesmaid. She called my fiance screaming once, then went into denial and kept texting me about my bridesmaid duties. My fiance called to tell her to leave me alone, and she screamed and hung up. Now, apparently she's been ranting at my future mother-in-law, who is in turn trying to talk my fiance into it. My compromise was that she be on my fiance's side, but I was told by future mother-in-law and future sister-in-law that was unacceptable because it would make the sides uneven and it was untraditional for a woman to be on the groom's side. My fiance got pissed and said that was fine. He didn't want her on his side either, and that she wouldn't be in the wedding party at all. That cued another freak out. I don't want to give in because I know she'll make a day about my fiance and me all about her. She always does. But I'm tired of the wheedling calls from my future mother-in-law to invite her back in. There was already drama with my family since the guest list on my side is very small because we are having a pagan ceremony and I know my family would disapprove. Doesn't what we want matter? I don't know how to handle all this. Thinking of my wedding makes me feel nauseous now. And edit, my fiance has 4 siblings. They are all invited to the ceremony. And relevant comments. Intrepid girl reader, your biggest mistake was offering to let her stand on your fiance's side. Because now it's a question of letting her back in when she was never really in the wedding party to begin with. I don't want to give in because I know she'll make a day about my fiance and I, all about her. She always does. But I'm tired of the wheedling calls from future mother-in-law to invite her back in. That was OP. It sounds to me like letting your future sister-in-law in your wedding party won't actually relieve any of your stress, but will instead just invite more. This commenter did some basic reading of the story.
I was going to say, intrepid girl reader, to be certain.
Yeah, she's really good at this. She's like, I don't know if I'm way off base here. Once you cave and let her in the wedding party, your future sister-in-law and future mother-in-law will simply move on to something else and start wearing you down until they get their way again. It sounds like your fiance is on your side, which is great. Stay firm and say the wedding party is already decided and you no longer want to discuss it. End the conversation whenever they try to bring it up, and don't spend your wedding catering to a brat. OP says, yeah, I agree. We were told it was unfair for me to have 2 siblings in the wedding party and my fiance to have none. I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, my fiance chose my brother, not me. And intrepid girl reader, back at it again, says if your fiance felt it was unfair that his sibling wasn't included, that would be one thing. It's not unfair to anybody else because nobody is entitled to a spot in your wedding party. If I were you, I'd have my fiance have one final conversation with his sister to tell her that the only 2 bridesmaids will be your sister and your best friend. After that, refuse to engage at all. Lynn's360 says, great advice. There are only 3 parties that get a say in your wedding. You, your fiance, and whoever is helping finance the event. And that last group needs very clear-cut boundaries right from the start so everyone knows where they stand. Not sure if that's applicable here. Beyond that, you tell everyone else to shut the F up and enjoy their cake or pie or fruit lasagna you chose instead. That's your choice to make for your wedding. OP says this is another issue. We're having our reception at future mother-in-law's house. We are paying the majority of the cost for food and booze, but it is her house. I think she thinks she has some sort of control of the wedding party because of this, but I would think she should only have input on the reception, not ceremony itself. Fluxman222 says, my suspicion is that if she doesn't get to be a bridesmaid, or even if she does, she might try to steal the day by pressuring her boyfriend into another proposal on the day of your wedding. I honestly don't even think he'd do that.
Well, because she already tried to get him
and they broke up over it.
And they broke up over it. He's not proposing at the wedding.
No. You may want to head that off by having a chat with said boyfriend. OP says, my fiance has 4 siblings and none are in the wedding party, all invited to the ceremony. She's the only one upset like this. And there is an update 6 months later.
I do have to say I don't agree with the talking to the sister's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think we need to.
Exactly.
I don't think he's gonna do it.
And so much with like these communicative drama moments, I sometimes feel like the more people you try to like, you're like, oh well, I should talk to the boyfriend to see if he's gonna like propose. No, just say you're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry about whatever Trevor has going on. You know?
And then if he does start getting on one knee, you tackle him. 6 months later. Hello again. It's been hectic and I finally got the time to update. The wedding was not drama-free, but it was drama-reduced, at least. First, I showed my fiancé, now husband, the post after I finished reading all the comments. He felt awful because he didn't realize how much his sister's behavior was hurting me. We scheduled a lunch in a public place with sister-in-law and mother-in-law. Husband laid down the law, and it was awesome. Nice.
Why?
He basically told her that she would not be in the wedding party. Nice. And that she had no one to blame but herself and her own actions. He raked her over the coals a bit. I can't believe my own family would make what is supposed to be the happiest time in my life frustrating and difficult. Well, I sat in Smug City, population 1. I then offered the truce that we had agreed upon prior, which was actually a suggestion from my last post. I asked her to be an usher and let her know it was important because we're having a pagan ceremony and people might be confused on how to stand in a circle.
People just don't get it these days. People might be really confused.
People don't know how to stand in a circle. And we know.
And you know.
Yeah.
You love a circle. You know how to put people in a circle.
Oh, good.
I will say, actually,
in a circle.
I know we're joshing about it.
I know we're joshing.
But
standing a circle, pretty hard.
Not what I was going to say. It's actually incredibly easy for me. I have no problems with it.
I'm so good.
If the sister is a little bit of like, there's this control factor to it, I do genuinely think this is a good job for her. Like,
she
we're
gets to
joking.
tell people where to go.
Exactly. You know, like she gets to feel a little bit powerful. So
whatever makes her feel important and keeps her out of my hair. She's been crying for a lot of this talk, but stopped to ask if she could still wear a bridesmaid dress. I told her absolutely not. She then asked if she could at least get ready with me in the bridal party. That was another no. She started crying more, but mother-in-law clearly understood that this was an olive branch and told her she would be crazy not to accept. She finally did, begrudgingly. Then she went home and posted all sorts of congratulatory things on her Facebook. My eyes about rolled out of their sockets. Fast forward to the wedding. The ceremony was beautiful and went off without a hitch. I had assigned a friend to keep an eye on sister-in-law, but she was on her best behavior during the ceremony. It was really lovely, and I was just so happy. It still makes me happy to think about. And then the reception. The first hour and a half are going great. Everyone's getting suitably boozy and dancing and having a great time. At one point, there was a quiet lull between songs, and I hear a harpy screech. Goddess help me.
Just in case you forgot that they were pagan.
Husband started to go wrangle her, but his stepfather steps in and says he'll handle it. He's such a great person. This next part I know only secondhand through the posse that went to deal with her. I just kept dancing it up and pretended I didn't hear it. It turns out that sister-in-law is fighting with her boyfriend again. Apparently, they had planned that he would propose to her at our wedding reception. If you read my last post, you might remember there was drama regarding 2 heirloom rings in my husband's family. By the way, the only drama I've got to tell you about is that you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. The plan was that her boyfriend would propose with both rings. Sister-in-law would pick one, and then she would graciously gift me the other as a wedding present. They got into a fight about who knows what, and he decided he wasn't gonna propose. Really, she gave me an amazing wedding gift, an excuse to have them both bounced from the reception. Stepfather called a cab and had them sent home. The reception went on harpy-free and was a blast. We've had pretty minimal contact with her after that. To her credit, she did apologize eventually, but also went on about how hurt she was to be removed from the reception. I let husband deal with that one. We live in a different city, so the most I see of her is Facebook posts, and that's plenty for me now. The holidays are coming up, so that we'll be in contact again, but I'm not worried about how to deal with her. And Relevant Comment says, great expectations. What the effing F? She was gonna have her boyfriend propose to her at your wedding reception and then give you the other ring? Well, la-dee-da. How big of her?
Sister.
Congratulations on your wedding. I wish you a long and healthful marriage. I hope your interactions with her settle over time. OP says she apparently thought it was a way to bring our families closer. Bugs doing things in the sense that both families would have the remember the time sister-in-law and her boyfriend did something so tacky and attention grabbing at someone's wedding story in common. Maybe. Sad Crocodile says gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. I honestly don't have the words to describe how disgusted I am with your sister-in-law's histrionic, self-centered behavior. On the bright side, though, it sounds like you and your now husband, congratulations, make a good team and know how to deal with this entitled brat in the future. The in-laws sound like they'll be pretty tired of her crap soon, too. Enjoy your newly wedded life. And edit, oh, just curious, did sister-in-law's boyfriend end up staying with her after that ridiculous proposal garbage? OP says they're very on and off again. Not sure if they're still together. Deleted. Did you know he was going to propose, and were you going to be cool with it? Congrats on your wedding.
Of course. Of course she didn't.
Of course not. No. OP says, we did not know, and we would not have been okay with it if we had. And that's the end of that story, folks.
Wow.
Man, oh man.
If I were a commenter, I'd be like, oh, hey, congrats. Glad it worked out. Just out of curiosity, how'd the circle look?
Yeah.
Did we get the circle?
Yeah, did she manage the ushering well? That's what I want to know.
My husband's grandparents sued us over a house they squatted in.
That just don't make sense.
My husband, 31 male, John, and I, 28 female, don't live in his home state where most of his family lives. 3 years ago, his mother, Debbie, 56 female, unexpectedly passed away. It was a devastating loss, to say the least. My husband was very close with his mother. His father was completely out of the picture, so she raised him as a single mother and worked 2 to 3 jobs to keep a roof over their head and bills paid. By the way, this comes from Desperate Plum 5772, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Riley.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice in a goofy manner, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so get in those comments. His half-brother Jake, 37 male, wasn't as close to their mother, and from what I understand, lived with his bio dad and stepmom for most of his upbringing. He and his wife live about 2 hours downstate from Debbie and didn't visit often when she was alive. When we flew out for the funeral, we stayed with John's grandparents, Ron and Linda. Ron is not John's grandfather. He married Linda when Debbie and her siblings were teenagers. As long as I've known John, Ron has made it very clear, without outright saying it, that he holds his children and grandchildren in higher regard than Linda's children and grandchildren. He did not have a kind word to say about Debbie after she passed. He seemed indifferent at best and irritated to have to deal with her estate. He made several insensitive comments regarding the mess she'd left them with during the week that they were there. Ron took over planning everything, and Linda seemingly took the back seat. Ron did not ask John or Jake about funeral preparations or burial information. He would just tell us what was happening. Her funeral is Thursday. She's getting buried in a plot next to ours. This is the casket, and these are the flowers. At the time, it was a relief to my husband because of how overcome with grief he was. It was a nice funeral, and what was truly heartwarming was the number of people who showed up for her. She had so many people who loved her, so many lives she touched. After the funeral, we went to Debbie's house to try and find any important documents. There was confusion about the deed and who was on it, if there were taxes owed or who would pay. Ron implied that he was on the title or deed. It was and still is unclear to us if Ron and Linda were co-signers for the house or on the deed, or what their role was with the house. We were ultimately unable to find any important documentation regarding the estate at Debbie's house. We did discover that Debbie had a roommate, a woman she met through work, who was having a rough time and needed somewhere to go. Debbie was a kind Christian woman who'd really do anything for anyone, so it's no surprise she offered her a room. We flew home and didn't know what was to come of the estate. Because we lived so far away, John and Jake came to an agreement that John would sign whatever rights he had to the estate over to Jake. Jake had his lawyer mail all the paperwork, and it seemed squared away. Jake promised John he wouldn't screw him out of anything. Over the next year and a half, Jake would occasionally give John updates about the house going through the probate process and how they weren't sure what they were going to do with the roommate or if they'd have to file to evict her. Neither Jake nor John could afford to keep the house, even with renting it out. The house was, and still is, in really bad condition. We both have young families and just aren't in a position to fix it up to code. The plan was, once the property was in Jake's name, he would sell it and split the money with John. John's childhood friend passed away during this time, so John flew home for the funeral. When he visited his grandma Linda and Ron made a comment that he was expecting to be paid back $12,000 for the funeral arrangements for Debbie once the house sold. He then asked John if he liked his mother's headstone, because he would also have to pay back the $800 that it cost. I hate that setup. I hate that delivery.
No.
Like, money stuff is always weird. I hate the idea of this person being like, do you like your mother's headstone?
Yeah.
Because you're going to pay for it. Like, just ask for the money.
You
just
don't
talk it
have to-
out.
yeah.
What are we doing?
You don't have, I don't know. I feel like I have like older grandparents and, who they're like things are being made, just the plans are being made and stuff. And it's just so complicated.
John was taken aback because had we known we'd be responsible for the costs, we would have started a GoFundMe. We would have taken over the planning. We barely have the financial means to keep ourselves afloat. John didn't respond and didn't see Ron again during his stay. Jump to a little more than a year ago. Ron was at home and plugged in some faulty appliance, which ended up catching fire and burning their home down. Thankfully, both Ron and Linda were unharmed, but they lost a lot in the fire. Ron and Linda immediately moved into Debbie's house with the roommate who was still living there. They didn't speak with Jake prior to moving in. They didn't ask to move in. They just did. Jake would give John updates and said that Ron treated him how he always had, belittling him and being disrespectful. Jake wasn't willing to put up with it anymore. 8 months later, when Jake finally gained rights to the estate, or it had gone through probate, not sure of the correct terminology, Ron asked Jake if he and Grandma could continue to rent the house for $600 a month while they waited for their own house to be rebuilt. Ron and Linda's house was being rebuilt by Ron's brother, who was a contractor and jack-of-all-trades kind of man. It was taking longer than expected. The walls and roof were up, windows and doors were on, but it wasn't finished. The $600 wasn't enough to cover the monthly expenses of Debbie's property, and the house was not in livable condition. There was mold on the ceilings and walls, it needed a new roof, new appliances, and new windows. Jake ended up taking Ron and Linda and the roommate to court to have them evicted so he could get the property ready to sell. John was made aware of the eviction when Ron messaged him asking if he was going to show up to court too. John responded that he didn't even know about court since we live 1,000 miles away, and seized the opportunity to tell Ron just how he felt about it.
He's like, I don't know anything about court. Another thing.
The only court I know is the basketball court. Get ready.
Let's
Get ready
settle
for your
this
ankles.
on that court.
Yeah, let's settle this on the tennis court,
Yeah.
please. John really aired his grievances with Ron, and Ron was unsurprisingly defensive and dismissive of everything John said. Linda's sister called John and asked why he and Jake were doing this. Ron's son Mason, 50s male, started a group chat with John, Jake, and Debbie's siblings to voice his opinion on how terrible they were for doing this to their grandparents. John's uncle, Debbie's brother Rick, chimed in too about how the boys should be ashamed, and Jake especially. He said Debbie would be rolling in her grave from her own boys doing this to her mother. Those messages really tore John up. He loved his mother and loves his grandmother, but he also supports Jake because neither of us are in the position to keep the house. The court date came and went. Ron and Linda were given a 60-day notice, and that was that. We flew out to visit Linda last month to clear up some of this turmoil and have our 1-year-old son meet that side of the family. Because Linda doesn't really use a phone often, she and John rarely communicate. When we showed up, Ron completely ignored us, didn't say a single word, and stayed in the back bedroom for the duration of our visit. It was a wonderful visit outside of that, watching our son meet his great-grandma. John and Linda spoke briefly about what was going on. John told her how he didn't want to punt her out, that he wasn't doing this to her, and Jake didn't consult him prior to going through with the eviction. There were a lot of tears, but I could tell they both felt better after seeing each other. It's unclear how in the loop Linda actually is, if Ron is just controlling everything and limiting her information, but she did make remarks about how the boys would have lost the house had Ron not paid for it, and that they should just be grateful for that. We saw her a few times after that, but didn't discuss the house. We flew home and felt like a little weight was lifted from our shoulders. Mason messaged the group chat again that he was prepping his trailer for Ron and Linda to live in over the next few weeks while their house got finished, and that he couldn't believe this was happening in our family. John and Jake didn't respond. Today, Jake's lawyer's office reached out to him because Ron and Linda are suing Jake over the funeral expenses and more, claiming they were asked to pay for it. They are also claiming they were co-signers on the mortgage and paid for the house after Debbie passed away, preventing the boys from losing the house. They are suing for roughly $45,000.
Dang. I feel like if they were asked to pay for it and they were planning on suing, they could have just not paid for it, you know?
Well, and they weren't asked to pay for it. That's like, again, the kind of tough thing. And if we're here to give genuine advice, goofily, like, just you have to be so tight on the communication about this stuff. Like, and it sucks because you're right. There's grief. The last thing you want to be thinking about is logistics. Money. But, like, you know, for whoever, for OP, for anybody who has to go through something like this, like, God, you just have to get everything watertight.
I just feel like their argument of, like, we were asked to pay $40,000 and now we're going to sue you because we paid that for it. Like, did you even pay $40,000?
I don't know. You can listen to what I do know is you can listen to full episodes, stories just like this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Search OK Story. Whatever your favorite one is, go to it.
That's the right one.
Okay, I do have some updates.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, or are we just going straight into this?
Roll straight in.
John was distraught over hearing this. It's so clear that this is not what Debbie would have wanted. All of this turmoil in the family. Passing really does bring out the worst in people. John called his grandma and tried to explain that by suing Jake, they are taking away money from their young family and ours, who have it 100 times harder in this world than they did. Ron and Linda are far from poor. They got a lot of money from the insurance claim on their house, not to mention Social Security and state retirement pensions. Most of the family thinks that we are the a-holes. It's not like Ron and Linda don't have other people they could stay with either. John's uncle Junior, Linda's son, lives 1 mile down the road from them. Linda's sister has an Airbnb 3 hours out of town she could put them up in. Ron has 3 sons, including Mason, who are in the area. Are we the a-holes? No, because I thought about that when Mason was like, well, like, now I have to prep to get the trailer ready for mom and dad.
Why didn't we use that?
They're living in the mold house?
Yeah. Why wasn't that option number 1?
Or the Airbnb?
Or the Airbnb that you guys have.
Sorry,
or just
guys.
Anywhere else.
We've got a bachelorette party coming in. I just can't rent out. I can't let you stay in the Airbnb right now.
That's kind of my man cave.
Yeah.
My brother's fiance hijacked his phone and turned him against our family.
No, he's turning us against us.
And this comes directly from the r/OKstorytime subreddit. I, 30 female, have a younger brother, Ryan, 21 male. He started dating Cammie, 20 female, in late 2024 and brought her to our family Christmas after a few weeks of dating. She was distant, barely said a word, clung to Ryan the whole time, and didn't introduce herself to anyone. It was awkward, but we gave her grace. Figured she was shy. By the way, this comes from Virtual Avocado 2406, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. A month later, Ryan asked if Cammie could come to my wedding. We were having a super small, intimate wedding, under 50 guests, and I'd only met her twice. My wife and I had already cut close friends and extended family due to budget. Still, after pressure from my mom and stepdad, we agreed on the condition they pay for her meal. They showed up, stayed 2 hours at the reception, then bailed because Cammie was overwhelmed. We'd already told Ryan it would be a lot for her to meet all of the family at once, but he has insisted it wouldn't be a problem. It was annoying, but we let it go and chose to focus on our night. Then April rolls around and we find out on Facebook they're engaged. They've been together less than 5 months. No one in our family knew. He proposed with only her family present. Ryan is normally super close to us, so yeah, it stung to be left out of something that major. But once again, we let it go. Then the red flags really started waving. Cammie never speaks directly to us at family dinners unless we initiate conversation. She whispers to Ryan like we're strangers or not in the room. Sometimes they would disappear mid-visit because she needs a break, or they just didn't come at all. On Mother's Day, they ghosted my mom entirely, which also happened to be the day my 13-year-old cat passed away.
Oh my God, so much is happening.
Yeah, hope you can't catch a break.
Yeah.
I had gotten her when I was 16, so she was an animal Ryan grew up with too. I was devastated. I didn't even get a text from him. 2 weeks later, he called me to ask for my Disney Plus password because Cammie wanted to watch a show. And yes, I gave it. I was struggling with my mental health big time at this point and just wanted to be the bigger person. Then July rolls around. Ryan called me on Sunday night to say they were having an unofficial wedding with no celebrant or paperwork that Thursday. 4 days notice. It was at 6 p.m., an hour and a half away, and I work full time until 5:30. I asked him to push it back a few weeks so more family could come, especially since her sister was about to give birth and our bio dad was flying down as he lives in another state. Overall, it just seemed really last minute. He ignored those messages and didn't respond. I mean, it feels like he doesn't want y'all there.
Yeah, I feel like
he's purposely trying to not have you there.
Right.
Turns out it was clearly planned well in advance. Cammie had a full-on wedding dress. Her mom flew in from another state. She had bridesmaids all wearing matching colors. So her family got plenty of notice, while ours got a 4 days heads up. I didn't go in the end after multiple discussions with my mom. I just couldn't support it, even if it was unofficial. My mom made it barely. Still in her pediatric ward scrubs, she threw on her only nice coat, which was unfortunately a darker cream color, but wanted to avoid being photographed in her Hello Kitty scrubs. Cammie waited a few minutes after my mom begged her so that my stepdad, who works 2 hours away, could arrive in time, but was cold and hostile to my mom for the rest of the night. The next day, my mom got vile messages from Ryan's account, accusing her of ruining their wedding by wearing cream. The tone and phrasing made it obvious Cammie had written it. My mom was heartbroken. She didn't even have time to change, but she showed up out of love and support. Mom was already stressed out enough with my sister going into labor at any second and her big 50th birthday dinner coming up. So she requested that we all bite our tongues again and just leave it. Then August comes around. My brother had just celebrated his 21st birthday. My dad had bought him a car as his old one had been quite unreliable. Ryan visits our Nana, our bio dad's mom, and he had sold his old car, so he wanted to go pay her back for car repairs she had helped him with. It was her birthday. She asked where Cammie was. Ryan claimed she was at her dad's, but when Ryan went to go find my pop to give him the money, my Nana had looked out the window and saw Cammie sitting in the front seat the whole time. Being the loud ethnic grandma she is, she went out to invite her in. Cammie refused. They left. Not long after, Ryan texted our dad, "Tell your mom she can get effed." Why?
Oh my God.
She just said, "Hey, do you want to come in?"
Yeah.
What is this guy's problem?
Jeez, dude.
I lost it. Apparently, Cammie claimed Nana said horrible things to her and said she would hit her if she didn't get out of the car. Now, my Nana is more blunt than cruel. She does say wild things sometimes. She's old, loves to have wine in the afternoon, and has no filter. But I've never known her to threaten anyone. And in my own experience, I was in a harmful relationship for years before I met my wife. The worst she ever said to my ex was, "Why are you taking my granddaughter away from me?" I messaged Ryan and told him I was disgusted and disappointed. Lying to Nana, disrespecting her on her birthday, and sending that kind of message after everything she'd done for him financially and emotionally. I told him to grow the F up, that he couldn't keep burning bridges with people who support him just because Cammie feels uncomfortable. Then, surprise, Cammie responded from his phone, not even hiding it. She accused me of never supporting Ryan, of never making plans with him, of not understanding their boundaries, and acted like I'm some outsider who's never tried. She claimed they don't lie and said I was attacking them for simply having feelings. So I fired back. I wasn't talking to her, and I was talking to my brother. I did make an effort. I invited them to Easter dinner and offered to pay for fuel. I messaged them when my cat passed away. I reached out more than once. I pointed out that I work full-time, study full-time, and yeah, maybe I don't always reach out, but neither does he. Relationships are a two-way street. She's been part of our family for less than a year. She does not get to act like she knows him better than the rest of us. And texting him from his account to insult people, his parents, his grandmother, his siblings, is controlling and manipulative. If she wants to attack me, She can do it from her own damn phone. I also told her, just because you or Ryan feels something doesn't mean everyone else has to agree. Feelings are valid, but so is everyone else's right to set boundaries when they feel disrespected. Her response, get effed. Then she blocked me from Ryan's Facebook. This has been boiling for months, and I finally snapped. Now I'm being told I should have just let it go, but I'm done being the bigger person while my family gets walked all over. Now a couple family members think I went too far and should have just let my parents deal with it. My mom is asking me to apologize and smooth things over before our next Christmas. But after nearly a year of emotional manipulation, ghosting, double standards, and straight up hostility, I'd had enough. I finally said what everyone else was too scared to say. So am I the a-hole for finally snapping and calling them out, even if it caused a massive blow up? And there are some comments. Comment 1 says, not the a-hole. Cammie is very controlling and manipulative. They haven't even been together a year. And your under 21 brother marries this girl in an alleged fake wedding where her entire family was invited. She had a full-on wedding dress with bridesmaids and the works. I forgot he was under 21.
Me too.
I forgot that. Honestly, yeah. I feel like she's manipulative.
Yeah.
And he's very naive. And he's just kind of...
Yes.
Yeah. Yet Ryan doesn't send invites in advance. He texts you 4 days beforehand and expects everyone to show up on a work day? Ryan has allowed Cammie to lie about his family, burn bridges with his grandma, and he's allowed this vindictive witch to disrespect his entire family as he does nothing. Your mother is doing herself no favors by allowing this behavior to continue. It won't change the predictable outcome. This relationship will only end one of two ways. Either Ryan wakes up from the harmful relationship he is in, or he stays with his a-hole through kids, cheating, and more abuse. Through it all, your family will end up getting cut out anyway. So you apologizing now will only fuel Cammie to act even more unhinged. What you and your family need to do is get Ryan on his own, or even with crazy Cammie, and have a conversation. If she's there, it probably will turn into an argument because she will just make crap up. But if you can get him on his own, you may be able to get what the F is happening from him. Or it could be that he is fully on board with how she's acting, and he's just as much of a douchebag as he is. Sit down with your mom and let her know you won't be apologizing. She also needs to stop allowing Ryan and Cammie to treat her like crap. They're not doing anyone any favors. Ryan is an adult who is choosing to allow his girlfriend of a year to blow up his relationship with his family. If that's what he wants, then that's what he can have. And that is the end of the story. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the best situation for anyone.
Yeah.
But, you know, stay out of it as much as you can.
Yeah.